Hey everyone, my name is Youssef, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how you can use the DrawThings app to generate AI images locally, 100% for free through an API, so that you don't have to use other image providers like MidJourney or OpenAI to generate your AI images. So the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to head to DrawThings.ai, and there you'll be able to download the app, which is what you'll need to actually generate the images. So once you've downloaded the app, this is what you'll see. You'll see a UI with 3 different sections. And here you'll have all the aspects you can modify for your image. You have the ability to run a prompt here, and then you have all the images that you've generated in the past. And so what we'll want to do here first is we'll want to go to the advanced section, and we'll scroll all the way down until we find the HTTP API server. And so what you want to do is you want to toggle this on, and you want to input whatever port or keep the default ones, and make sure that it's on localhost only. And so now that you've done this, we've now generated a server that's now listening to our calls, and we can use that to generate images. So let me show you how to do that. So if you actually look up the DrawThings API documentation, you'll find that it's not really that extensive, that there isn't that much information. I could only find this example file of how to actually make the request, which is, it's a start. And you have the DrawThings URL here, you have the image size, the prompt, all the parameters that you can update, and then the actual options for the post request. But I've actually realized that there's a lot more options here than are being shown in this documentation. And so if your server is on right now, if you head to 127.0.1 and then the actual 6550, that's the port, you'll notice here that these are all of the things we can update. We can update everything from the upscaler to the sharpness to the image guidance. And so this is actually the extensive list of the available options, whereas we only got showing a small amount. So here's how you actually implement this. So what I've built is a very simple app, which essentially has 3 state variables. It has a prompt, a loading state, and an image. And so you'll notice that what I have here is an input and a button. The input has the value of the prompt and will update the prompt every time the user inputs something in the text box. And then the button will essentially call the fetch image function. Once we do have an image, then and it's not loading anymore, then we can actually show the image. And so this fetch image function, this is where all the magic happens. So you have the DrawThings URL, but you'll notice that I'm not actually hitting 127.0.0.1, whatever. I'm actually hitting a /API endpoint. And here's why. If you head to your Vite config, you'll notice that if I actually make the call, what I'll get as the error is access to fetch at 127.0 from origin localhost 5173, which is where we're at right now, has been blocked by the course policy, right? So what does that mean? That means that the server is only accepting requests from its own origin. And so you can't make a request from another place like localhost. You actually need to make a request from somewhere else. And so if you look at the documentation, you'll know here that the options has no course mode enabled, but we don't have to do that. We can fix this. We don't have to do no course. We can just simply set up a proxy and we'll set the target to be the actual URL of the server. We'll make sure to change the origin and rewrite the path when we set it to API to remove it, and we'll have the origin be this instead. And so what that means is that we now can just put /API/SDAPI v1 text to image, which is what we expect to see here. And then all the parameters, so you'll see here that the parameters are quite short, but I've actually copy pasted the big JSON that we saw earlier with all of the different parameters. And what I've done is you'll check here for the prompt, I've actually replaced it with the prompt that's being inputted by the user instead of just the hard-coded variable. And so now whatever the user writes as a prompt is what we'll pass to our model. And finally, I just make the request here. You'll notice I don't have the no course, and then I'm actually able to just fetch the request and get the return response as a base 64. And input that as my image. And so let's try this out. So when I go back to my React app, I can just put a man holding a bag. I can click on generate an image. And then what you'll notice is that if I actually head back to my DrawThings app, this is what I'm starting to see. So it's generating the image on the app so that visually you'll see that it says a man holding a bag. It's using the model that I wanted, which is the Flux 1 shell. It's using all of the right attributes. So the steps is 4, the text guidance is 1, because I mentioned all of these things in the actual parameters here. And so we'll notice that in a few seconds, we'll get this updated and we'll see the same things here. So let's give it a second and wait for it to generate. Okay, there you go. So it took approximately 30 seconds. And what we now have is this beautiful image of a man holding a bag. And yes, not perfect because he has 3 legs. But the point is that you've been able to now use an API to generate images locally 100% for free. And we haven't spent any money. And so that's the beauty of open source software. That's the beauty of having stable diffusion models or other image models for free. And so now you have an API to use to generate as many images as you want. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this and have a nice day.